Yeah, so we're live. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. Where one of the reasons we're live is because we've been talking about it for a while about going live because everybody loves the live format so much. And for many of you guys in our community would know that Laser Zone Brisbane was recently heavily flooded, and over the last fortnight we have been very, very busy, along with a lot of our good friends and members and staff, basically shoveling mud and getting mold out and cutting the walls back and getting things fixed. And there was not a lot of time for recording any podcasts. So I spoke to Holmes and said, now is the time. Let's go live on Monday night. No preparation needed. Let's just jump into it.
Before we continue on, just a quick word from me. We have a merchandise store. Look, check it out. Laser Sports Academy. And look, a hoodie as well. Yeah, so that's the thing. So far, it's just t-shirts and hoodies, like red, white, and black variants. We have plans to put more things on the merchandise store and do more like specialized, like limited run stuff. But for now, that's what we've got. If you want to check it out, it's at lsamerch.theprintbar.com. If you want to be a part of supporting the project, you want to represent the brand, show you're your LSA's biggest #1 fan. The merchandise is a great way for you to do that, and just one of the many avenues that we're starting to kind of delve into. So also for this podcast in particular, this was the first time doing the podcast as a live stream, and also Bootza's first time doing the live stream, and I think there was some technical difficulties in how it was set up. So you'll notice with Runt and Wax microphone, there's occasionally times where like their voice is kind of doubling up, and it is annoying. I couldn't find a way to fix it and deal with it, but there's like lots of really good nuggets in this video, so I wasn't just gonna like not release it. So just you get a heads up at the start of this video that there will be periods where, like, when Wax or Runt are talking, their microphones are a bit shoddy. So we're gonna fix that so it doesn't happen in the future. So thank you for your patience. But yeah, back to the video.
So big thanks to Brendan and Wax for jumping in tonight and talking about a very cool topic, which I think you tabled it a little while back, didn't you, Brendan?
Well, I think we were kind of discussing like a Hobart finals breakdown kind of thing, and I think tonight it's going to kind of morph into where the meta of the game's kind of going, which I'm really keen to discuss because we've got like 3 people that have all been at the top over different eras, so it's going to be really interesting to see the evolution from my perspective. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I can tell you it's definitely changed since 2001.
Yeah.
It's a big at that time. But even since 2015, 2016, the game has shifted. And yeah, so I'm really keen to get into that discussion as well, just to start to weave it into where we think the game might be going in the future as well. But is there anybody out there listening in the chat as well? So just give us a little bit of a hoy if you're out there, so we know everything's working okay.
We might just want to change the title if that's the thing you can do this.
Oh yeah, sugar. That was what I meant to do. Do that right now. It was funny because I was.
Yeah,
I remind him so much.
Yep.
Okay.
And has it been posted out on Facebook?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
No, they're playing stone cards against humanity tonight, so we might be taking second place for that.
Okay, there we go. So stream info has been updated successfully. Cool. So if there's anybody out there, please tap away in the chat so that we know you're out there, ready to go. Oh, that's you. That's thumbs up from you, Brendan. It's not even somebody else.
What am I doing?
Sorry, I had the messenger chat sitting behind the Twitch chat, and I saw your name said ready, and I'm like, oh, that's you. So just while we await people coming into the chat, I thought I would just share a little bit about the story about the flood, because I'm sure there's lots of questions and curious people out there keen to see what happened. essentially on the 30th of January, I was driving to work, driving a zone, and got the phone call that we'd been flooded, and this is the second time in 2 years it's happened. But this time was much more water than the first time. So the first time we had about 10 centimeters throughout the whole building, which is enough to like get to the floors and the carpets, but not enough to get into the games and hit the arcades and hit the laser tag packs. But this time around, we had 40 centimeters, which got into everything. So all the phases were like submerged up to the gun cable with water. All the arcades had water and mud all through them. The toilets had mud inside the toilet bowls. The bumper cars had mud in the floor of the bumper cars. And everything was completely impacted. So essentially, we've been shut down for the best part of 3 weeks, and it's only been really the generous contribution of Waxy and all the Catalyst boys came down, broke their backs in getting the mud out of the carpet and helping us kind of get the water and mud out. Wham's been down there helping Callum get the arcade computers going and cleaning all the boards for the packs. We had like 20 volunteers on multiple days come down. A whole bunch come down from the sunny coast to help out, cutting we had to cut every wall in the whole bottom floor down by 50 centimeters to get all the mold out, because in Queensland the mold just goes mental if you get anything wet. I've got some photos actually of what happened. But yeah, we would literally not be open without everybody's contributions. So yeah, it's been also really awesome to sort of bring the community together and just so we wouldn't be running again. So there we go. Everybody see that.
Actually wild to think that we played on them yesterday. We played on
the screens on
yesterday.
the like is the screen just like a red screen, or what is the screens on the like is that just like a red screen?
That's just
what is
black, white, blue. So you can see all the mud on the phases. So you can see the line in the background there. So that's where the water came to. So the water was every phaser, and they're all plugged in on charge, was completely submerged underwater. So this is after the water came down a little bit, essentially, and that's all the mud and stuff we had to get out of the carpet, essentially. And there's like probably 300 or 400 square meters of carpet, including like the function area and all the arena. And every part of it, we had to like wet it, like use these hardcore squeegees to like work the mud out of the carpet and then like suck it all up with a vacuum cleaner. And then sometimes do it 2 or 3 times on the same spot just to like get it back to looking like carpet again. So it was like, it took us days just to get the water and mud and everything out of it. There's furniture floating around in the water. So furniture just ended up in random spots in like, that's the exit to the arena. So yeah, we just found things all over the place. You see all like the sticks and it was just leaves and crap everywhere. That's on the way to Blue Base.
It's wild to look at that we were there yesterday and it was like iron-ish.
That's the back. So the water came in the front door and went out the back, and this is like right near the back. So all the sticks and debris and everything like accumulated at Blue Base. So this was like near the fire hose door at Blue Base. It's just like a pile of sticks and mud, essentially. That's one of the arcade games. That was the corridor down to in the staff area. So we basically just got to get everything out of the building and then just try to start again. That was our laundry. That was the truck out the back that ended up in the creek. So the retaining wall, went over, and like the truck, this guy lost his whole truck essentially into the creek. That was after we cleared everything out. So that's like basically what we had to get out of the carpet. So we got the fire hoses out, like wet it, and then worked the mud out of it, and then sucked it up with vacuum cleaners, essentially. That's my office. So that was all the crap in the car park. That was just a small section of it that like everything had to come out. And we had like 20 years of accumulated stuff that we've just like stashed under the ramp. Under the ramp was like, oh my God, the worst. It was just like 10 years worth of financial records, all in those record keeping boxes, like all the old like packs. I had Infusion system, Nexus system, and
they are dead now.
but
Or are
all
they
that
still
going to
going?
be in like all the players were able
Yeah.
to like just salvage what they wanted. Like I took like I just kept like 6 of each system essentially, and
Yeah.
through the rest. But yeah, like there was just that much stuff that went in the bin. And that's a photo from our security cameras when it was at its peak. So you see the furniture floating around.
Oh, what the heck? Holy.
Complete the whole first step's kind of covered. So yeah, that was a little bit of our story for the last few weeks. Yeah, so that was what we've been dealing with. So as a consequence, we're all here tonight, and we're kicking off on our first live podcast, which is really exciting. Yeah, so I think we should transition, boys, and let's start talking about Hobart and Meta. So yeah, actually, just before I launch into you, Brendan, I sent Brendan a request for some information today. I said, Brendan, can you find out how many times what your win-loss record was for the Vikings when you guys, between you and Twinkles, got 100 tags or more and got all 4 bases. So I think you delivered on, you separated the 2 out, but I think you had like 1 loss out of all the games that you guys scored 100 tags between you only had 1 loss.
So you asked a very specific thing, which was of the games where Twinkles and I got all 4 of our bases and we had 100 tags, how many games did we lose? And the answer was 1. The win rate which you were after was with Twinkles and I getting all 4 bases and 100 tags in a game. What's our win rate? It was 95% in Hobart. So yeah.
Is that lost to Aftershock?
That was the loss to Spartans actually. So that was where like Twinkles and I have all our bases, we've got good tags, but we just lose on bases to a Spartans dump. That was the first time they hit us with us, and they just like caught us with our pants down and took a whole bunch of bases off the other team. And yeah, we just lost on bases on that one. So that
was that in Cascade. That one.
That was Cascade 2, I want to say.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the stats that you were. Yes, cool. So I can share. I can get that image up if you want, Boots. Sorry, 1 second. Boots, what? I'm guessing you theorize that those two components are quite integral to our gameplay.
Well, the information doesn't lie, my friend.
We did win it. There was one where like we got 100. Like we did win a lot of games without like finishing, and I think we won some without like getting 100 tags between us. So it didn't quite tell the story. I don't know. It's interesting.
You also done a lot of games just in general. Like it's you can pretty much pull out any information and go, hey, when this happened, did you win? And it's like, yeah, you did. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. When you asked the question, I'm like, surely it didn't happen, right? Like we only lost 4 games that I was in. So what are the chances that one of them was where we actually like finished and had good tags? And it was one of them where we got dumped on. Okay, let me screen share and I'll pull this up.
Hey, Jellyhog. Welcome along, my friend.
There we go. And that should be there. Okay, so this is Boots' fun stats. So yeah, of the 30 games, that is how much we're winning with both Twinkles and myself finishing all our bases or not finishing all our bases. Of the 30 games, there were 2 games where we did not get 100 tags between us, so it almost never happened. One was the game I came out of hospital, and one was in finals where Twinkles decided to not shoot anyone. But yeah.
Why did he do that?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, why do you think I asked that for those stats?
I mean, yeah. a lot of people say the Vikings strategy is run to twinkles, just go out and win the whole game. Um, like it kind of works. It's not at all that because it's so propped up by the defense, and the defense enables that. But yeah, the strategy is 100% like if we just have a lot of points between us, we're probably going to win the game. Kind of in a very simplified version. But the reality of how we played Hobart is full maze control, which I think was the meta of the maze, which only some teams tried to do. But yeah, I'll get the Hobart map up. Where are we?
Yeah, you got to show us what full maze control
Yeah.
looks like. Brendan.
Yeah, so Hobart differs from other mazes in a lot of ways. A lot of that is that you can push very far without anyone sneaking up on you. So you can,
Is there
as
any
Red,
way
for
to scale
example,
that up a bit to like zoom
I
in a
will
bit?
try to make it bigger. Not easily, unfortunately. So as Red, for example, you can pretty much push all the way up to here without being stuck past, and all the way up to it's probably about there without being stuck past on this side. So that is like that's almost that's a solid third of the maze. So if you then put attackers or like defending floats all the way up to here-ish, you can pretty much control 2/3 of the maze. And that was kind of always our goal. We want to hold 2/3 of the maze. And if you hold 2/3 of the maze, then other teams don't have a lot of space to work with. And once you control so much of the maze, then bases kind of just happen. Like an opportunity will arise, and then your defender can see your attackers, and then they can just dart in and take a base, and the defender can push up to support that base. So if you control the maze, you control all the pack points. It's really hard for anyone to stand anywhere if so many of the spots are being restricted by your team. And yeah, the bases will kind of just trickle over. So that was the maze control kind of strategy for Hobart, is control 2/3 of the maze, win game.
Can I ask you a question? So let's say we start at red. That person that you pushed up, the very first person you pushed up from red,
Yep.
to what some people call the lighthouse. Yeah, that spot there. Was that was that Ricky's? Where Ricky was pushing to?
No, so usually you only need to go to there. You can fire all the same sight lines just from here. That if you just work back and forth on those walls, you get all the same sight lines, and as soon as they see an opportunity, they can just run up to this wall and support the attacker in there and shoot through that base. And it works for all bases. Is you kind of just see the opportunity as the defender, and then you can push up. And it's really hard to be snuck past. Like if anytime someone run back, you can just chase them. Like it's because it's literal corridors being funneled towards the bases. You can push so far, and as long as you're paying slight attention, you can just chase the attackers back. So you don't have to be too worried about being snuck past.
So I kind of feel like there were a few teams playing like that. Like, is that how you guys were playing Wax?
Like from red, yeah, 100% from red. Somewhat from the other two, but green we kind of more just held with 4-ish, and not fully, but like we would have more of a loose, like closer defense on green. Blue definitely was like that as well. We'd try and like control something. I just don't think.
I feel like a lot of people,
coordinated.
a lot of other teams on blue, they were not pushing as far as they needed to. So like blue, the stretch is longer, but the same principle of like people can't sneak you past you applies. So your door defender on blue should be playing here. Like that is the spot where you get 2 lines of sight.
Yeah.
One down here, and you just go, oh yeah, weekly here, yeah, we're good. So like that's where that door defender can go. This door defender can go all the way up to here, and it's like that's how you keep pack points ticking over at blue. Blue's the one you need to be most vigilant on, but I feel like a lot of teams weren't playing that blue to red stretch, and as a result, green was being fed a bunch because not many teams were actually like really pushing their players out on that blue to red stretch because they didn't like trust them not to be snuck past. But I don't know.
I reckon the best scorecard for a door defender is how many tags they're getting. Like in terms of knowing whether you're getting these stretches right. Because we had a period where we were checking the person who was holding that door was getting like 25 tags, and we're like, no, we need to get that up to like 35 to 40 essentially. And then when they started pushing that like as far up as what you were saying, suddenly it just like ended up getting an extra 10 tags a game from that door.
That would probably be like the spot that I was like, our team's gonna figure this one out. It's a spot that I we kind of call God spot, because you're literally just standing in the open. If you stand on any walls, you're vulnerable to some sort of angle. But if you stand in the open properly, you can see all 3 sidelines without being shot. So it kind of feels like just a God spot where if you manage your senses correctly and you're just like chatting it out in the open, you can get a whole bunch of pack points, and it's really fun.
And if you've got your attackers, like if they crack the base, you only have to take a couple of steps to be a really good support as well. I found from that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, you from here you're pretty much already denying one door, but if you step to here, you're denying both doors. Both these lines of sight you're denying, so it's pretty insane.
Yeah. I feel like that's the the really skilled like floaters, the guys who know how to float well. They can read the game, they can hear like the comms, and they can hear when the base is getting cracked, and knowing when their team is about to get shots on base, and they take that's when it's okay to take the risk to push up the extra 3 meters to, your door's going to be exposed for 5 or 10 seconds, but the risk is worth it because you're at a high chance of taking a base.
Exactly, and I think that risk is a big part of where the game's kind of going, is trusting your players to make risky calls.
Yeah.
Previously, I think the defensive structures were, you're a defender, you defend. You go out if I tell you to go out. Otherwise, this base better not drop. But now it's like, hey, like me personally, if I have a defender and he's like, yeah, I was in green base because I thought I could take it. I'm like, cool, did it work? No, it dropped our base. Would you do it again? Yeah, bro. And they say, yeah, I'd be like, cool, I back your call then. Like, if you think the risk reward is worth it, that call. Like, it's a lot of trust that I put in my defenders to have to drop a base if they think the risk reward is worth. Which I think is a very modern style.
I think that's the interesting thing of like moving forward in LSA. Like I'm jumping ahead with the conversation, but like where it goes from here is a bit more wild than what it's been.
Yeah, 100%. So like our Hobart structure, we had one anchor. They're the only person that just doesn't do any, like doesn't make any decisions. They stay there. They keep the base from going down. Door defenders, they can push as far as they feel comfortable doing, and as far as they think the risk is worth it. And the like far players kind of thing. They defend when they feel that the risk reward is worth it. They attack when they feel the risk reward is worth it, and they go and they pair up when the risk reward is worth it. It's balancing of those two that I think is putting a lot of trust in all the players, but I think the reward was worth it because you had so many players making so many decisions based on what they see. So that made a big difference, and it's why you had CV able to push so far. And a lot of people thought we like had a third attacker a lot, or like Rick was like, yeah, a lot of people thought we had 3 men. It was like, no, he was just a defender, but he just saw it being more valuable to push up to us, which it often was. And then Twinks and I would just randomly find each other. We barely talked. We'd just rock up at a base when there was an opportunity there. And that's another thing I thought was really important, is being able to... So my philosophy on the state of the game, I don't know. I might go into this whole wild tangent real quick, because it's where I want to get our team to, is I want our team in a state, and I think the game is going to reach a state shortly, where an attack is never committed. There doesn't need to be any communication. Players just phase in and out of an attack together without saying anything, and they just phase in and out. And it's never like, hey, we're going to attack here, and we're in attack now. Because I think it just gets punished too much, and you sacrifice too much doing that. And it's very hard to get to the point of not needing to do that. But I think in Hobart, Twinkles and I were there. Like, we barely spoke. We just would meet each other, and it was happy days. If we were like down a lot, we'd go, okay, we need to attack now. But the phasing in and out felt really, really good in Hobart.
Was there ever a point where like that just didn't feel like it worked? Like obviously you guys like played really well in home maze, H2, everything. So it wasn't like you had all these advantages to make it easier for you. But was there points where, because like I had that with Lakeo, right? And that's how Lakeo and I used to play. And there was a lot more of like, we would just be more like, no talking, just play the game, play off each other, and it worked really well. But like, grub and dodge and like I know everyone struggles to play with me because it doesn't work like with other people like as
I
nice.
need to play a comp with you, Wax. I want to see if it works.
I reckon it would cook, but like
Yeah.
it's interesting because like there'd be times where like even though Lakey and I would do it all the time, there'd be times where he'd be like, "Where the hell? Like, what was that? Like, that
Yeah.
was like there was no. We just didn't link up, didn't find each other nicely. Like, things just didn't like play smoothly. Maybe just Sunny Coast things.
Mm.
Like, I'm just remembering this from Sunny Coast, but like, is
Yeah.
that something that ever happens or not? Like, I guess
100%. So like the strategy looks simple on paper of just like go where you want to be kind of thing and like meet up when you want to be. But and to my team, the rest of my team, they just played their like it was like you three keep doing your role. You're doing great, and that's all they needed to know. Like Leper would be like, I have no idea what's going on in the game. I don't know anything, but I'm just gonna do my role and hope that we're winning and trust that Twinkles and I will have a whole bunch of points.
and that's how it
And
has to
that's
be.
all we needed him to be. Yeah. And but Twinkles and I, we would chat for hours and hours and hours, just constant talking about like, oh, where's the threshold for when we need to defend more? When's the opportunity worth it more here? And just like genuinely, just like hours and hours of cooking together and just trying to get on the same wavelength. It
You're making
was
me sad right
yeah.
now. This is literally what Lakey and I used to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it felt like him and I were just so like in tune with each other in
Mm.
game, and like there would be times where it felt like we would argue against the other four because we would be thinking of something that they wouldn't even like understand fully. But we've sat down and spoke about it like 15 times, like we know exactly what we want to do. But it just
Yeah.
seems wild to like everyone else who hasn't like gone through the same steps as us and like realize that these things don't work, that works, this, that, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly. Team chats with my team, the full thing, very basic. It's like, what are we gonna do this game? We're gonna do the same thing we do every game. Or maybe it's like, oh, okay, on a dump structure, well, it'll be Twinkles and I that decide to come back, so nothing really changes. But like, yeah, with the team chats, it's very basic. But with Twinkles and I, we just spent like many late nights going this and this and this, and today was this felt off and all that. And we need to talk more or do this or that. But yeah.
So Cyrex has
Um,
said in the chat, I think this playstyle can be punished more in the Sunny Coast arena because there's so many routes to each base and it's easy to lose players.
yeah.
You know they're about to make a maze that like sucks for this playstyle.
Yeah. And it did suck in Aubrey. It really did. From what I understand, Aubrey plays quite similar um to Sunny Coast in the sense that every base is very isolated from one another. There are lots of routes between them, and it's very hard to know what's going on. Like an attacker, you can have your teammate on the other door and you won't even know if they're there or not without absolutely screaming. You still probably won't know they're there. So when we got to Aubrey at pre-1, Twinkles and I had no idea if we were together on attack. Even after we said like, yeah, let's attack together, we'd be like, were you there? Like, what's going on? So it's a very different play style in that arena that we had to adjust to a lot. It was very effective in Hobart's arena. How effective it is in Aubrey, unsure, but I think given the right arena and the right knowledge of players, that phasing in and out of attacks and defenses is where I think the game feels like it's going more so.
It's so hard to find though. Like
Mm.
I'm telling you, like if Twinkles is like fuck this, I hate laser tag, I'm done. You're just gonna be like depressed for like 4 years trying to
Yeah.
find the new Twinkles.
I mean, yeah,
Cause like, have you
yeah,
had it with anyone else?
yeah. I think a few people, yeah.
Okay, maybe you're just
Like,
crazy.
like I was doing it at pre-1 with Shurikitty, like
Okay.
pre-2 with Shurikitty rather. Like, I don't know, and I played, yeah, yeah,
I guess if you kill 6 and just like let them get it, then it helps.
yeah, yeah. No, it felt like by day 2 of pre-2, it felt like Shurikitty and I would like phase in and out at the right times and like meet up at the right times. It's just like, you know, in high tier games, she kind of just got a bit destroyed. But like our playing off each other was amazing. It felt really good. Yeah.
One of the things I noticed that you guys did is you went at it. I mean, home arena, and you obviously had the pack advantage for that comp, but you carried it into Albury pretty well too, which is you accumulate tags at a high tag ratio, and I guess that's one of the transitions I've seen since like the 2015 era is that as the opening batsman, we call ourselves the opening batsman, the two attackers that would go out early, there was a lot more being more dedicated in attack and coming up against full strength defenses, and then going at like 95 to 105% tag ratio essentially. And your job was to accumulate tags. We would
But it's a
always
rough time.
we always put a really high importance level on how many tags were needed across the team in order to get a win. So we would sort of assess early that roughly 200 tags is what the winning team is getting, and then we'd make sure we manufactured a setup at each base where we could accumulate that many tags, and it was the opening batsman's job to go out there and make sure they're getting like 45 and 50 each or something like that. What's happening now is that this new play style is taking it to a next level in that you still need to get the 100 tags between the two people going out early, but you need to do it at a better tag ratio than 95 to 105%. You need to be in an accumulation phase for longer periods of time, and then switching in and out of attack, like base cracking mode in moments, like is what you're talking about. Like the base attacks happen like they just happen spontaneously, rather than it being, okay, we're going to green and we're going to rock up and we're going to keep punching through the door until we get in and take that base. It's kind of not like that anymore. It's like we're going to hover in the middle of the arena or around an area, accumulate tags, and as opportunities present themselves, somebody has to reload, or there's a piggyback opportunity because another team's cracked through the door, or something happens, you read the situation and you don't even have to communicate to your other attacker. You kind of just get into position and go.
Just quickly as well, Bootza, I think your webcam mic's on and not your headset mic.
Unless,
is that what it is? I just thought it was rain.
Yeah, no, it just sounds. We can just hear rain, like aggressive rain, through your webcam. Should be able to just change it in settings.
So, a little, not really.
Yeah, I can hear you, but
yeah. I don't know if you can ever fight the Queensland rain, to be honest. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, Wax. So in Sunny Coast, did you guys play with that sort of committed attack style, or did you and like Yo just like feel around for ages and then just randomly attack together?
So like Sunny Coast was like very slow. We had like the finals. Everyone just played slow, got pack at the start, and then it would be like trying to do those hits and stuff. So maybe like for us, we played more like it was like you and I. Like it was more 2-3, but it's because the way that the maze was playing, everyone's spreading out, and then like the quick hits and trying to like get attacks. It was more planned because the way that Sunny Coast was, it was harder to get into the bases and stuff and crack them. So you needed to kind of have like we had conversations about like if we're here, we'd have positions where we'd be like do the thing, and then we'd go and do the thing because like you needed to be able to like bait someone to be able to do something or do a certain thing to like distract someone to go. So there's just like Sunny Coast was like you needed to think so much about your positioning and like your movement and like the way that you're playing to like actually do anything sometimes. Like you could just catch timings, but like a lot of it was like team play. Like Sunny Coast is probably the most team orientated maze.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of set structures in Aubrey, right?
Yeah, I think Aubrey can be like is similar.
Aubrey? Did I say? I think
you said
Sunny
Aubrey.
Coast.
Yeah,
Sunny Coast. Yeah. There wasn't as much like Hobart. You can obviously like solo base way easier in Hobart than you can in like Aubrey or Sunny Coast, because you can just like kind of in Hobart it was very easy to break the defender's ankles. Like you could make them look one way and then go the other way, and then all of a sudden you're solo cracking the base. Whereas more defensive mazes, that's not so much an option, where there's like a really long sweep or something like that. Whereas Hobart, I'll show it on the maze map. Like you can like look here, and then the anchor will look at you, and then you like fake a run here, and then they look around this panel, and then you like shoot them there. Like you have all these options because it's not just like these super obvious runs that where you have to run straight on at the anchors, which means that you can break it as a solo player. And when in Hobart, like when they're running at you and you know they're running at you and you know the direction they're coming from is still very defensive, but if you get tricked by it, then you can get broken out. And I think
also
that's
H2 makes tricking in any form so much stronger.
You reckon?
I reckon.
Tricky? I usually shoot chests when I like scam someone. Like I feel like oh, no, that's too far. Where am I going? But yeah, whereas like Aubrey, it's like how are you gonna trick someone here? You can fake look there, and they have no reason to watch the other door if you're alone. Like you need two attackers to reliably crack a base. And it was pretty much the same for Sunny Coast. I don't think I ever found the Sunny Coast.
Probably
Base
not a
map?
bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. To me, Sunny Coast felt a lot like Aubrey. These very long sweeps where if you want to go to the other side, they're gonna know that you're there by the time you're there, which means you can't just like solo crack
The
your
thing
way
was,
into
it
a base.
wasn't as bad as Sunny Coast. So the rotations at Aubrey, I felt like you could go into like their blind spot and then make a decision from there.
Mm,
And because of H2, if you catch someone off guard, you can get their phaser a lot of the time, and then you can dive the base, and it makes it like a lot nicer. Well, I feel like this is like the perfect mid like rotation. Not like
really?
perfect, but like this
Yeah.
is like this is not too much. It's not too little. Like it's like the spot where it feels like it's still you can sweep, but it's not like OP like Hobart,
You reckon?
and it's not terrible like Sunny Coast. Like Sunny Coast's rotations were literally
Mm,
non-existent. Where this feels like it's a nice spot. The amount of times I felt I would abuse the sweep and get
really?
free like
How
kills, and
slow
then
are the people rotating in your games? That's insane.
it was your backline. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know, I believe you. I'm just like, surely, like, it takes like a good
Yeah, but
like
like you
millisecond
it's
to
such a
switch this back.
blind spot unless you
Yeah.
play in a way to control that space. Like it's so open and blind that
Mm,
even if there's good comms and H2, if you get a slightly off, like slightly delayed comm and I like dive you well and hit your phaser, like
yeah, interesting. Mm, yeah, yeah. Aubrey, where you're playing around the mids a lot more. Um, Hobart, it was kind of like you. Well, yeah, I don't know.
everyone was mid because you could do anything.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. For me, Hobart, I just played in the bases everywhere. Like I didn't play in the mid anywhere near as much as I played in bases. But, like that's because bases like were so much more breakable that if you could break your way in so much more frequently than an Aubrey, so you could pack point by breaking bases. Whereas an Aubrey pack pointing by breaking bases is just like not an option. So you just did a pack point by playing the mid. Um, like, which is sad because I like playing in
I know
bases.
I just remember you and Green. You
Yeah,
and Green all the time.
so much fun. Or
I would get the
boy,
base and have to like go home. I'd get like yelled at to go home. Like, let me just sit here, please.
yeah,
Let me just sit.
yeah. And like so much of the time people are like freaking out because I'm in their base. It's like, yeah, cool. I'm just here for your points. I'm not here to take a
They
base.
should be freaking out. Just shoot him once.
Yeah,
Got PTSD of that green base.
I was
Just,
there
like,
for the
Yeah.
99 tags. I was refing
I
on
was-
the base
God.
when you got that
Yeah.
99 or you got the 102 or whatever it is. And
Yeah, so
you got the team kill, and yes, there was a basquillion blind shots going around both sides of the green tee, and just ding 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 went on for like 4 minutes at the end of the game.
yeah, so like I don't know. That play style of like breaking bases and like pushing out really really far as a solo player, like deep into their defense as a solo player, I think is only viable in some very specific mazes. The more defensive mazes that we see more commonly, that play style is not viable. So it's more like just feeling around in the mid than it is like you just break bases and break defenses for fun, which is sad. But yeah, it means that in a way finding your attacking partner isn't too difficult in Albury. Like it was when we first got there, but when we realized, hey, we just have to play the mids the whole time, it's not too hard to find them because they're always in the mid as well.
So Brendan, because we've promised everybody about you sharing your killer strategies for Hobart. I have a question for you. Can you show us how you played green at Hobart? Because green was a very special base in Hobart, I feel. Because it's fun, like both colours converge on it essentially. So I'm really keen to hear about how you guys thought about that.
Yeah, cool. Alright, green base. You have your anchor, they're chilling there. You have your left defender and you have your right defender. And then you have your other players playing here-ish and like here-ish. You know, like there-ish maybe. I don't know. Like it's everywhere. They're at the base pretty much. But then green base was the simple one because so many tags come to you because the main structure of every other team was to go like, what if we put a player here and here and here and here? We're gonna get that base. And then they do the same on the blue side. They go here and here and here and here and here, and they just heavy focus that green side. So as green, we would mainly just like um we'd have our three defenders, and then Twinkles and I are mainly just managing that kind of that offensive push. And then when we'd get pushed offensively, one of us would drop back into post, while the other deals with the snipers on the weaker side, the less aggressive side. So we just make sure that one of myself or Twinkles are in post box, and that kind of shuts down a lot of the setups because you can shoot across here and across here. And if one of us is dominating this, then it frees the other one up to deal with the snipers on either side. But yeah, Twinkles would have a side, I'd have a side, and one of us would drop into post at any point in time. 4 players was usually enough to hold that base, and you just keep so much pack points ticking over just because so many people just aggress on green so heavily. And a lot of the time, when teams were aggressive so heavily, you could make a run through here or something, or like through here, and you'd find a base. So it was usually Twinkles normally focuses defense heavier than I do, whereas I focus on looking for opportunities a bit more than he does. But while one of us is focusing on the defense more, sometimes there's an opportunity more, sometimes we just 5-man D, sometimes we go, hey, there's opportunities at both bases, we'll both try to solo one, or there's an opportunity at base, hey Twinkles, let's go to blue quickly, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different options based on the game. There's no set reason why anyone would be better than another. It's literally just both of us reading the game and going, think we're more valuable hitting a blue base now, or think we're more valuable just farming the pack points and keeping our base from going down. It's just like trust going, can our defense handle this? A big focus thing is, do those bases need some pressure on their base so they pull their like push right back? And so many teams you just like rock up for 2 seconds and they'd freak out and pull like all 4 players back. I was like, cool, job done. I can tie up like 3 players by being here right now, and then that relieves the pressure on our defenders to play a bit more. Yeah, green was probably the most simple one. Blue was probably the hardest.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, like once again, you guys are basically in just tag accumulation phase for like most of the game, and then essentially trying to keep the defenses of the other 2 bases honest by just like floating through them every now and then when opportunities show up.
Yeah, and we only needed a base if we were losing. We'd know that we'd be winning on tags every game, like because we control more of the maze than they do. The only one where that we didn't was when Storm played green, and they played pretty much the exact same strategy we did. And they controlled most of the arena, and Firebird just had like endless tags on Berlin, which for anyone that doesn't know is here. So Firebird was just sitting here, and he was just getting endless tags right here. And Twinkles and I are just like running around here and here, like, oh no, they've got more tags than us because they're green, and Red just really wants that green base. So that one I think had to like really push a base to make sure we won that one, because that's where we are down on tags. So usually, yeah, that's where we have to go, okay, we're pairing up, we're getting a base now, we need one. But yeah, usually we just trust we'd be ahead on tags, and the other teams would have to panic first and commit an attack, at which point their base becomes an opportunity, and we often end up just grabbing our bases when they had to make the first move. So I think that's exactly how Aubrey's playing, is you do not want to be the first move. I don't know if you guys are getting a similar thing, but you want to pack and pack and pack, and as soon as the other team makes the first move, they're pretty in a rough spot.
Well, what was in the final? What were the base counts for the 3 games?
Weren't very. Oh, they were. The first game was pretty high, higher than normal first games. I think the second game was.
You guys got 5 bases in the second game, and because Albury's like a defensive lockdown arena, it was like, crap, we've lost. We have lost. Yeah, you guys got 5 bases. We were
Yeah, we
very
only got
sad.
2 in the first. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. So it was usually 2 or 3 for us, and then Catalyst got 5 in one. I think we got 4 in maybe the last one or something. But yeah, pretty locked down in Albury.
Yeah.
I like that spot though. I think it's like a nice spot there. Like,
Everyone getting 5 or 6. Like, just around.
Yeah. 5 or 6 is perfect. 5 or 6 is what you love. Albury was usually about 3 per team, but yeah. In all the serious games, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah, probably.
So if there's anybody in the chat that has any specific questions around either Albury or Hobart, really, how Wax, you'd be happy to share how you guys played Albury. I'm sure the guys would be totally stoked that you shared all your team strategies with the rest of the country just prior to that. It'd be totally a thing.
Wait, what? Are you saying for Aubrey or for Hobart?
For Albury.
Oh, we just play normally. Like, everyone knows how we play now. Like, there's nothing special to it.
Yeah.
Like,
Normally is in like a 3-2 or
like somewhat.
yeah.
Like, there's points where I am allowed to cook, but it's mainly a 2-3. I want to cook more, but it's not how like everyone wants to play. So we just play how what we feel is good, and if it doesn't work, then we'll work something else out. But
Can we do history time now, Bootza?
Sure.
What was the like Maroons bread and butter? Like, were you guys just like a 3-2? Because in my mind, and keep in mind I was a child and I had no idea what was going on at the proper top end. When I started, the strategy was like teams run a 3-2. They have 2 committed attackers. They try a base. If that doesn't work, they bounce to the other base. If that doesn't work, they bounce to the other base. If they're losing at the end, halfway through the game, they pull a third attack, and then you're like hitting with a 3-man attack. That's pretty rare. But usually it was just like 2 committed attackers bouncing back and forth. Was that what you guys did, or was it very different?
can I have it? I'm trying to remember as well, because I don't remember well. But all I remember is a lot of 3-mans. Like, there was a lot of 3-man attacks, and I think that was like a main part of your game. Am I misremembering?
No, there was. It definitely depended on the arena. So Bendigo 2015 was more. It was like we go with 2. If we're falling behind, we pull a third. But 2016 we really started because at Brisbane there's not a lot of points in the middle of the arena. Like, all the tags are at the bases essentially. The bases are quite isolated, so it plays very different to any of the other arenas that we played probably. So I was floating that year, and we made a decision early that there's no point floating out and trying to get 1 or 2 tags for people coming in and out of reload in the middle of the arena. Like, it was just pointless. If you're going to float out, you fully commit and you rock up as a third player to the other base. So essentially, that was my job, is just to read the game. As soon as we had 0 at our base, I would sprint to the other base and tag as many people as I could. And then we had a person that was considered what we considered a signpost, which is usually beefy, and they would stand in a position in defence where I could look back and see that they were there. If they were there, I knew the base was clear, so I could stay.
What an anchor should actually be.
What an anchor should actually do. Yeah. So that was how I was able to stay out for longer at times. And then that was, nobody else was doing it, and nobody could pick what we were doing as well, because it was completely I was completely reading the game and reading the situation to know when to go and when to come back. So nobody could actually pick how we were doing it. So that was kind of how, and floating started back in 2009, I think, is when we started floating. And actually Mopar is to be credited for the first kind of floating strategies.
Mopar. He got bored.
Well, we always knew there was a better way of playing laser tag. We're like, there's got to be more complexity to this game than just some people
And that's
attack
right,
and some people
yeah.
defend. It's
Yeah.
like it's more to it. And at the time, we had 6-person teams in 2009, and Mopar come up with this strategy about having people floating between. There was the 3 bases very isolated, having 2 people in attack, and then 1 floater on each door floating to the opposite bases. So you randomly, you just have 3 rock up to a base.
And they try and find their attackers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
that was
the side that pushes is the one with the attackers. That was my first idea of how to play Hobart. So when we went, okay, Hobart's getting a competition here, we need to actually figure out how to play this maze. We were coming off Bendigo and Darwin, which were 4-1 mazes. So we're going, okay, we need to learn how to play our own maze. And my thought was like, okay, what if, we have 1 float on each side and they try and pick which side the attack's on. And then it kind of evolved into that maze control kind of thing where they're still doing that. They can both just push. They don't need to worry. And you're finding players that are fighting too. Yeah, the initial idea started as what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So what back then though, we didn't have the depth of really high level players. So you'd have some players on the team that could make decisions in game about when to push and when not to push, but you didn't have a whole team worth of them. And our goal when we formed the Maroons was to get 5 people together who had captaincy experience, that knew how to make decisions, who could all think, and we trusted them to make decisions. And like, you read the game, you just go when you need to go and come back when you need to come back. And Lawrence just said, Cyrix just said in the chat about us playing 2-1-2. So that's basically what we did. We had 2 defenders, 2 attackers, and 1 in the mid, essentially, and the mid would make calls about when they pushed and when they pulled back. And I think what's happening now is it's getting to the next level where both door defenders, you need to have 2 door defenders who are thinking like mids, essentially. It depends on, it's very arena specific.
And your attackers aren't fully attackers,
And the attackers are spending 80% of their focus on accumulation, and 20% of their focus on cracking bases, essentially. Which obviously those percentages change depending on the arena.
So it sounds like for the 2-1-2, which sounds accurate. That's 2 thinking players in players. The lead attacker and the float, or is your second attacker thinking that much as well? Or are they just following the lead attacker?
No, usually what we would do is there would still be phases in the game. So at the opening stanza, usually if Jesse and I went out, I would send Jesse to somewhere, and I would say I'm going to be there in 30 seconds or a minute. I'll spend, and Cairns plays a bit like this too, spend the first minute scouting the arena, seeing what people are doing, making sure you don't drop a base early. And then when the game is settled and you haven't dropped any bases early, then burn your head out and meet up with the other attacker and try to crack, essentially.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think what's happened is the quality of the defenses all the way through the midfield now is so strong that like a 2-man attack just gets punished too heavily too often. Like, you know, that it wasn't until finals we would meet that kind of resistance some of the times. But these days you're meeting that kind of resistance all the way into mid tier.
And that's kind of why I think it's pulling away from just because the defenders. The defense is just too strong to crack. You bring 2 or 3, and a lot of time you just kept out, and that's like so many resources, so many tags, and so many bases dropped for just committing to anything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why when after watching you guys playing Hobart and seeing what happened in Albury, I'm like, I think this is kind of where the game's going to go. What's the best kind of way to play against a really strong defense is kind of, you got to like leave them alone. Like, so this was our strategy against the Wolfpack, was that if you rock up to their base and just keep trying to punch through a door, you're just going to feed Husky lots of tags at 700% tag ratio, and you're not going to get the base. The best way to actually beat the Wolfpack was to actually starve them a little bit and try to lure them out of their base a little bit. And then obviously got to hold Bucks and Lakeo out as well. But and I think that's happening a bit more now. Like, that's clearly happening a bit more with people playing around the mids a lot more, just accumulating, and then taking opportunities. Essentially, once the defenders have like all their reloads are out of sync and they don't have a full kit of lives, and the game kind of breaks open. There's a team that's behind, so they start going aggressive. So they might only have 2 in defence, and then or a late game dump happens, and then the base races on. Like, it's at that second half of the game when a lot of the bases. There's probably like it'd be interesting to look at the. I guess you guys have done that work with the worm, hey? Like where all the points get accumulated. The first half is probably like 20% of the bases, and then the second half of the game is probably like 80% of the bases.
Yeah, I mean, we could get a number of like the actual. Oh wait, I mean, you can see in the unscaled version, it's just like how steep the worms are. I can check that quickly.
I find those worms very interesting. I think they're like actually such good stats.
Yeah, I'm glad.
How someone plays and like the way that the game flows for certain teams is like actually actually cool to look at. Like, because you see it, but you don't like it's not something that you can like visualize as easy. Where like those stats actually just make it so easy.
How interesting was the Dragons one? I thought they had this. They like the 5 to 7 minute mark was like their peak. It was like opposite to everybody else. It was like so interesting.
I'm glad people are getting value out of those, because that was just like me clicking like, oh, like would anyone actually be able to understand or care about these? Because they are very complex to understand, and I feel like, actually knowing why lines are going up and down, the proper in-depth explanation is like quite complex, but like, seeing the trends once they're pointed out, I hope is interesting to people.
I really enjoy just like looking at it because like you can see where people like peak and stuff, and it's just like how they play, their strategies kind of align with their line. Like you can literally read how they play the game by looking at this line, and if you can't, like you need to learn how to do that.
No, cool. We'll try and make it a mainstay. Twinkles and I have obviously been working on automating it, so it'll hopefully be an automated thing at some point, but it's probably
when you posted this, I didn't know what it was at first. I was like, oh, I think this is cool, and then I realized what it was, and I was like, I bet you our line goes up and then down, and then I look at it, I'm like, god damn, it goes up and then down. We always start so hot, and then we just like, unless something happens at the end, we just always slowly peter out.
So this is the unscaled version, which means, but the steepness of the worm is how quickly teams are getting points. I think the first minute, obviously has that 15-second startup, so it's very low. I think there is definitely a bit of gradient increase, but I don't know about too much in Albury.
So this includes bases and cabs?
Yep.
So it's pretty linear, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's surprisingly so. Like if you try to find the actual midpoint of the lines, it looks pretty linear. I think the last minute or so, there's definitely like a last 2-3 minutes, there's definitely like a steep increase, which is where teams kind of panic ish. I don't know. Like again, you're kind of looking at like 7 different lines trying to find a trend. I can probably properly trend it tonight and see. But yeah.
There you go. I wonder if that's also reflection of the proportion of field points to bases as well. Like, if they're low base games, you're not going to see much of a shift.
Yeah, exactly. Like in a high base arena, I think in a Hobart would be my guess for an arena where it's like it is a steep climb, because in Hobart, when the game opened proper. Whereas Albury, the game opening is like, maybe 1 or 2 more bases go down, but like every 3 minutes. So I'll try and find that at some point. I don't know if we can get it up now quickly.
So Brendan, tell me how you think Lepra and CV are going to go, because Albury, the Albury floats are, like I reckon they're more complex than the Hobart floats.
Yeah. So before we get to that, Max, what was your team strategy? So Bootza's was like that 2-1-2. What was the Wolfpacks?
Literally just 2-3, and
yeah.
people would starve us. So like early days, would just brick wall, and no one would be able to get in, and we'd just get so much pack from defense. And like Sunny Coast, like Albury, we got away with it a lot. Sunny Coast, it was more we had to like push out and stuff, and it was like hard to like get that through people's heads and like understand that these things needed to happen for us to be able to win, because it was just like there was points where we would lock 2 in and attack with 3 because we just like we couldn't understand how to float well, and like it was just no good way for us to do it consistently. So like we like would lean on things like having 2 in and attacking with 3 and doing these things because like just wasn't used. It wasn't good for us at Sunny Coast. Literally before Sunny Coast, it was just 2-3, just 2-3, and someone, mainly Grub or Payne, would push if there was no one at our base. So like we were like the most we still play very basic, and it drives me nuts because like like my brain, I feel like I know a lot, and it's just hard to like convey it sometimes to like everyone.
Yeah, I feel like that was always the meme with Wolfpack, is they just do a 3-2. So it's funny that
It works though.
Yeah,
If you let it work, then it works. But
If
as
you're
soon
just
as soon as
way
you
better.
stop attacking them, like the times that like this at pre-nats, Husky was like, I feel like we're Wolfpack again. I'm like, why? And he's like, because no one's attacking us. And I'm like, it's a good thing though. That means we like can do things. Like,
I remember in
not a bad
2016, the only way the only way we could get Husky out of blue, and this is in their first Nats in 2016 at home, was we went down there with 5 in the grand final. We're like, Huskies in blue, we're all going down there. We're gonna like get him out eventually, and then we'll just then we'll get the base. That's the only way we're gonna win this game. That lasted for 1 year.
Never again. He killed all 5 the next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I saw.
So, yeah.
I ref the finals at Albury, and I saw you guys. Your dynamic play is really come a long way. Actually.
It's definitely like a lot higher. It's not as high as I would like it, but like it's at a point where I'm at least happy with like, how we do things now. Like it's not as static.
From what you were saying to me, Wax, was you're playing float. Like you're playing the one of the 2-1-2 in Albury.
Not really. Dodge needs to know where I am. I'm on like a leash. Like
okay, so like, but are you starting out with Dodge or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I'm
okay. Floating. I'm
floating,
floating, but it's like it's not as like floaty as you and Twix.
Yeah, but so you guys are the 2. Are they staying as a 3 in Albury, or is one of them proper floating?
Like, it just depends. It depends on like what the hell the game is and stuff.
Interesting, because from my read of Albury, it's so defensive that the high tier teams they're committing that 3rd player as a float, and then they've got like 2 like attacky float people as well. Was what I was guessing was going to come.
Day 2, I felt like I didn't even need dodge when I was like playing well. Like it felt like I could solo bases really well, and then I like I got worse as the day progressed. But like it got to the point where a mixture of the flow of the maze suited me well, and H2 and shooting phases while diving makes it feel so nice to get good routes, and then that sounds bad. Get good like angles, and then like kill 2 while they're not properly looking at you because they're doing something. It's just like Albury feels very clean to me. Like I think it suits my playstyle like very well.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What do you reckon the meta of Albury is going to be, Boots?
Well, definitely the red-green float is a thing. Like you gotta have from red to green and green to red. You've got to be running that like diligently. It's just an obvious one, and it's not a difficult float. Floating to blue is going to be like the more complex one, and if you can get players floating out to blue well, then that will be a difference maker, because it's going to be not every team's going to be able to do it like to the same level, I would say, and then also being like dynamic enough to be able to have somebody floating to blue when your attackers are kind of lingering more around blue, and have somebody floating to red when your attackers are more lingering around red. Like you probably don't want to be going aggressive like you don't want your door defenders both going aggressive at the same time.
Yeah.
Essentially. But you need one of them being a bit more conservative and one of them supporting the attack.
I think for me, the blue is like the most interesting thing about Aubrey in my brain. I think it's like the hardest base to defend in a way where it's like if you get starved, you have to like actually do things and like take maze control. So it's gonna like leave holes, like attacking blue because it's so far away. Like I just think the blue makes this maze interesting because it's like I remember watching I think it was Sweenat's predictions or something, and like their red base was further away, and they just would dump or like people would like do wild stuff because it was just so much worse because you get no pack. And I feel like that in itself can be such like a positive thing if you can play it well. Like if your team works out how to play blue, like it's gonna be such a good
It's like
tool to have.
It's like Bendigo started as
Red was so
the
dominant.
I thought Bendigo in the early pre-nats blue was dominant because blue was getting all of the pack points and everybody liked getting pack points because it was in the center. But then later on, it became red. It was isolated, so they could push further safer with more structure, and they became the dominant base.
We just had like a line, like a like a 3-man line, so aggressive.
Yeah, did you guys ever play the 4-1 meta? Like, I feel like that was
Not really.
for a while.
Like we would play like we would play like if we would just say we're red, it would be like someone in the middle, someone next to the reload, and someone like slightly behind the person in the reload. So it's just like no one can get through without someone seeing it.
And then 2 attackers.
And then just 2 attackers.
Yeah.
And then one of the people who was there would be allowed to push.
Yeah,
To
interesting.
help the attack.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a 4-man D meta for quite a while. I think Darwin and Bendigo were both like most teams were doing like a 4-person defense, and then it was just one person running around. I think we've gone away from that, luckily, because I don't know why we've gone away from that. I think it's people are realizing you need more players in the pack points, right, than just one. Darwin, I mean, you could have like 3 defenders in the pack points because the maze was that small that you can't even put 2 players on the other side of the arena. But yeah, Bendigo the weird maze for strategy.
Yeah, it was. It felt very like hard. I don't know. I didn't love Bendigo strategy wise. Like it didn't feel great.
Yeah, I mean, we did a 3-person defense with a float and then an attacker player, far player. Yeah,
Definitely felt like a 3-2 maze that was just like everything was slightly too far away to do the amounts.
Yeah, the dynamic play in Bendigo was. I think everyone was trying to be dynamic, but nothing felt great to do dynamic. Was my read on it. Which is kind of how I feel about Aubrey. Yeah, I think Aubrey is going to be a dynamic maze by pressure of you need a lot of players in the pack, and the defenses are so strong that they're going to get punished if they attack anywhere. So I think we're going to see
ridiculous FOMO this year watching you guys play that arena. Like it's literally my favorite kind of arena. It's just big enough. I didn't actually like 2018 very much. I felt it was too big, but they've just reduced it to the right size now. I really liked Hobart, but this is just that little bit bigger, and I think it is going to require more like switched on decision making through the floats. The floats aren't quite as obvious in terms of timing when you float and how far you float out and stuff like that. I don't feel.
interesting.
And actually, what you were saying about blue, I think I agree with as well. Wax, and a team that I saw play it really well was Rampage. I felt like they had a freaking, just from reffing, they had a really good blue game, and they transitioned through the middle of the arena very well. They weren't using the same routes between bases that everyone else was using. They were doing like more complex routes through the middle and stuff like that, and it was catching people off guard a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. And they fell for Cliff.
No, they got 4.
They didn't look good while doing it though. Yeah, I just find blue, like the way that blue is going to be playing is just if you don't play it well, you're just going to be out of the pack and you're going to be so far behind. So it's going to be interesting to be able to. It's going to be cool to see what teams decide to do. There will be teams that like push way too far and you can run behind them. There'll be teams where like they might leave someone there and push with 4. Like
Yeah, the other two bases felt like everyone did them the same and it was quite bland. But blue was the one where people were actually setting up differently. Like there were different structures going on. It's kind of like when we saw Aftershock play Hobart Blue, like so differently to how we played, and I'm like, oh, is that? That's cool. I didn't know you could do it like that. Like that was fun to me. So I like bases. I really like it when bases can be played multiple ways. Um, yeah.
Where did you and Twinkles like playing in Aubrey, mate? When you were in
Uh,
accumulation phase?
Accumulate.
Still in
That's what I was
homework,
kind of
bro.
saying. Is my accumulation phase has been a bit killed by not being able to crack bases every 10 seconds. I just want to be in the base, man. And it's so much work to get in these. You have to drop so many deaths to get in a base in Aubrey. So I don't know. Where do I play in Aubrey? Um, there was nowhere. I'd say probably like red sweep a bit, but because that's like just the midpoint of the maze. But I don't know.
That whole
It was
centre area, I love that whole centre area. So like
I
in the
yeah.
love
back
that.
of the back of green, between green and blue, through the
I
centre
just
there.
felt like I was dying to let the front door red defender. I'm hoping they cut off that line of sight because red being able to get free pack points without any risk is insane to me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to work out the runs in Aubrey. It's not an intuitive maze to me, obviously because it's so different to Hobart. So I'm trying to figure out what to do there.
So because I've noticed that in Hobart you were like, yeah, your tag ratio was excellent in both comps, but in Hobart you'd get the occasional 180s, 220s that would like that pulled your average up, and in Albury you were still averaging like 130 or whatever it was, but
Yeah,
it was the 180s and 200s and that were a little bit rarer.
yeah.
Is that
I
because
wasn't
of not
getting.
getting into base?
Yeah, exactly. So my games in Aubrey, they were consistently high. I was very I was very consistently decent in Aubrey. I never had any standout games. Like I was nowhere near the top scorer of the comp. I was nowhere near any of that.
Gotta drop
It was,
down. Gotta
yeah,
make a team do worse. Come on, right?
yeah. Yeah. Part of it was being against such high teams. I think a big part of it was like playing with a newer attacker the whole time. So I spent a lot of time with Sugar Kitty, like trying to throw my head against a wall. Like going up against hard defenses, like attacking with a far less experienced player than what I'm used to. But yeah, even in the points phase, I would just open games and just get annihilated sometimes. And I can't do that insane like lock down someone else's base and just annoy the hell out of them, get a whole bunch of tags that I can normally do. That I can do
I
at Hobart rather.
I geeked out the other day and watched like a bunch of the games, and like I
Mm,
did notice that there was a bunch of games where you started so much less hot than
yeah.
usual. But like
I mean,
you
I always start Hobart less hot as well, but yeah, in comparison, like I was opening a lot of these games just getting absolutely rolled.
which does happen. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it. There's definitely like 60% of the games I felt like you'd have a bad start and you just recover like pretty
Mm.
quickly. Just like those first like 5 6 deaths, you just kind of like get sniped by like
Yeah.
someone across the maze.
Yeah, exactly. It's a rough feeling arena for me. I don't think we're going to see any insane tags this comp unless there are teams weak enough to hold their base. But in Aubrey, holding another team's base is so difficult because first of all, the getting in phase, you don't want to risk it, and it's painful to get in. And then once you do get in, normally in Aubrey, it's because they're so defensive. A player would never run at the anchor or the player in the base, whereas in Hobart, people just loved running at that player in the base. They loved it so much because that bit of hope gave because there was no areas as strong. That bit of hope, they'd always just run straight away. It was great. And the defensive. And on the outside, you weren't like as safe as you are in Aubrey, so you can't just like hold a pin and sit there for ages. But yeah, I think this will be an arena where there's less high highs and less low lows. Oh no, the low lows will be painful because you're just throwing your head at a wall. It's like that first game of finals. Like I just spent the entire time trying to get Husky out of green, and that did not work at all.
Mistakes were made.
Fun? Yeah, that's
Mistakes were
right.
made.
Because it's like, nah, we get this, we get this. I'm like, you see what I'm seeing? He's abusing me.
Please no, please.
Oh man. Yeah.
Husky's got to be feeling pretty good after Pronouns 2 Wax.
Yeah, yeah. Like he definitely was, but I just think like he's still the things that he doesn't feel great about. He still doesn't feel great about because he literally did it less. Like he didn't leave the base because it's such low base games. he just was under the whole game. Like, sure, he's going crazy, but like, he's not getting better at the things that like other things as well. Like that's what makes him sad. But he was like hyped, like he was feeling good about like being under and stuff.
So Wax, what happened to you in finals? Because you were like, I threw finals, I got rolled. Like, were you finding
I
the
was
same
just
thing I
baby
found,
raging.
or else? Yeah, it's just
No, like so game one, I was like it felt really clean at first, and Dodge and I were doing really clean hits and stuff.
Mm.
And then we go to isotope space at the end, and we should have got it. I'm not throwing stones, but I'm like 80% sure Peregrine baseline jumped and didn't get turned. And then Dodge was shooting him as he was running in, and he didn't die. And then I got really tilted because of that. And then Peregrine's positioning was like so stupid, but he kept getting away with it because I would shoot him in the back, and he just would live, and it was wild.
Yeah.
I do say this every finals. I throw every finals. I'm dumb. But like in the second game, it felt really clean because we got all those 5 hits, and like we were like, okay, we won that game by a lot. We know where we are. We read the first game perfectly, and then the last game, I was just like, Dodge sent me home because I'm a child. Like he was like, go home. You're dumb. You're done. Go home. And I'm like, why? And he's like, just go. And then it was good because I like reset, killed a bunch of people, and then got green base right at the end of the game.
Yeah, interesting.
Also, I swore and got a turn. Like
That was
that's
pretty
why.
great. That was pretty great. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I'm doing decent in this arena, but it's gonna be hard to get those insane games, I think, because even if you're doing well in the mid, you're still copying so many stray shots from just like random people, like
Yeah.
just some random chump on the door, or just I feel just like I can't do anything about that. So,
And I think I'm way more used to like getting brick walled, like so much, like defenses and stuff, not being able to like easily
Yeah.
always just like pack. You get the base, like
Yeah.
you did in Hobart. Like there's times where like
Yeah.
you will just need to grind a base sometimes because it's like you need to get the base, like it needs to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, it was rough.
It'd be interesting to see what happens around the mid as like Pre-Nats 3 happens and we get into more deeper into the comp at Nats, because as people learn the arena more and learn about how important it is to try and shut down those two players that are out there trying to get 100 tags for the other team, like there's going to be all those stray shots into the mid are probably going to really tighten it up. Like it's going to be pretty hard just to wander around the middle of the arena and accumulate.
Yeah.
I
Man, the
100% don't
difference-
agree with like the 100 tag things in this maze. Like it's not like your defense is carrying your ass in this.
Yeah,
maze,
exactly.
like, 100%.
Man, whenever like I think it's for me, it always felt like I said earlier, like you're not gonna get many like insanely high games. I don't think you're gonna get insanely high games from like the opening far players. I think you're gonna get insanely high games from the defenders that are floating out and just like sniping those lines without any risk. And it's kind of like Slider did that role, I think, and he went insane. Whenever Twinkles was doing that role, Twinkles was going insane. So many games with just like a 250% tag ratio and just like 50 tags, like well before I was getting 50 tags. Like it was playing the third defender felt so much better than playing those far roles in terms of like farming and keeping, yeah, honestly, keeping pack points ticking over positively. The far players are just kind of there to suffer because you need points ticking over, is how it felt.
Back to old school days.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah.
Mid players are gonna literally carry. Like if you've got someone who understands how to play mid well, like it's gonna be so useful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's why we did so well in like the first 2 days of the comp and pre-nuts, is because we had Twinkles playing the mid, like the defensive role, and when we could afford to have him there, it was great. Games were amazing.
Yeah. All right, lads. Well, I reckon that's been a pretty good chat. Probably need to let our younglings get to bed. At school in the morning, work in the morning, including you, Wax. Don't want to start too late.
Yeah, so 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Oh my god. Yeah. Is there any final words of wisdom from you two, fine young gentlemen?
I think it's really interesting that we kind of went from like a very committed 2-1-2 to then just like a committed 3-2, and then then like Hobart was like super open, like the defensive like the structures were just like super up in the air and super dynamic. Aubrey feels like it's. I don't know if we're going back to Maroons, but I think it's going to be more dynamic than. I think it's going to be a more dynamic version of the 2-1-2 is my guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too. I think like if a team plays at like peak,
Mm,
It's like 2-1-2, but like even like less. Like that other defender can be like sniping, like take one
Yeah.
more step and just snipe down a corridor or something.
yeah, I do think the game is definitely moving in the direction of more dynamic players everywhere. Like I think it used to be that you could get away with one thinking player on a team if you had the correct structures. Like one lead attacker, and then the defense just like holds the defense and pushes to set positions. Whereas now I think it's like four of your players probably need to. I think in Aubrey it's three of your players need to think in this maze. Hobart it was two or four depending on how you define thinking. I think in Hobart it was four-ish players need to think in Hobart. Whereas yeah, I think you can get away with two in Aubrey. I'm not sure. Three. Yeah.
Well,
What do you got?
I think you know, if you've got four thinking players, it's going to help because you're going to be wanting to push from a different door at different various points in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and how you coordinate that and switch between one door defender being a little bit more aggressive and to back to the other one again. It's like and how quickly you can transition modes essentially. Those teams that can do that really well will have a huge advantage.
I think
Yeah.
the only issue will be is if there's too many chefs. Like if there's too many cooks, like it could be an issue. But if you do it in a way where it's like you don't have as much power, like your decision making is this that, like just back and forth, and that's it, and you can't do any more than that, then it's good. But like some people need to do more and want to do more, and this is why I'm so like interested about Isotopes and how they're gonna play because they have like Cairns and Cyrex who are like can be on the same page but think differently, and then having Brock be the like person making the final decision or whatever. It's just interesting to see how three people who know a lot like decide how to play all at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, Sorex just asked in the chat, are there
The
any
game's going
teams
in the
that
direction.
do we think Aubrey suits? But I actually think it will suit Storm because they've got the extra thinkers on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be able to. Yeah, they'll figure all this stuff out. But I also think that what I saw from you guys at Prenats 2 Wax was like really promising because if you guys can get that part of your game right, you're unstoppable essentially.
Like where we finished at Press 2 is wild. Like we expected not to do well at all. Like we barely trained. Like we weren't playing well. Like the fact we got there, especially day one training, we lost all our training games. Everyone was mad. It was a disaster. Like Runt's just smiling, like absolutely shitting on everyone. We had people walk home because they were like pissed off, like they were that mad. And then it was like the next day we spoke about it all, got it to a better point. Still a disaster, but then we got there by the end. And it did like even the finals, like in my opinion, it felt like we could have won the finals by like 20k, but we just like actually threw it away like so
It's amazing
easily.
how close we got. I'm like,
Yeah, like
we are so far out of our depth at almost
yeah,
winning.
literally. And but that's what I'm saying. Like we're not even there yet. Like
Yeah.
and we got Prenats 3 with me captaining, which is like a waste of time. And then we go to Nats and it's just gonna be a lot of like training stuff. So I'm interested to see Nats is gonna be so interesting to me. If these teams can make that jump. Like Storm work it out. Vikings how they I don't like Run and Twinkles are gonna do Run and Twinkles things. Vikings, I'm so keen to see like how that plays, like their back end plays in this maze, especially where the decision making on mid pushes is so much harder. And if like the timings are off and stuff, it's just gonna look at like they're just gonna get run around. Timing's gonna be off. Like I'm keen for that. Keen for what other teams? They have Aftershock. I'm not too hot on Aftershock right now. I think they need a lot. They need a big step. But if they can work it out and they can take that step, then I'm keen to see it. But I don't think they're there yet. And I don't know if they'll be there at Nats. They might be. They can prove me wrong.
so hard to say with so many new faces, or not new faces, but returning faces and one new face on their team. So yeah, big question marks there. So I think if you get it, if you can get like you're floating to 70 or 80% run on your team, you guys will still be right up there because of the dominance you guys have on the packs and just how good a quality players you have on your team. Like if you can get the floating pretty good, like you won't have to be the best floating team there to still like final, for example.
Yeah, that's good. No, I think we figured out the structure pretty well for pre-nuts too as well. Like, it's partly packs, but like our other Hobart teams, like we're like down in like 11th and like 10th and 11th. So for me, it felt like H2 wasn't as much of a factor. Like Axe is doing well on H2, but yeah, I think it's all structure, and I think we figured it out early in the comp, and then other teams, when we got to the depth later on, and they also had the same strategies. It was rough for us, but yeah, I think
It definitely felt like H2 early, and then as soon as it was like day 2 was fine, like it was whatever on day 2. But day 1 in training, I was like, I fucking suck. Like, this is bad.
But yeah, no, our team of 4 Vikings came like 10th or something. So who's to say if the development team will go better? No, it should be much stronger on Vikings. I think you're saying it, yeah. Something that poked my ears up was the new players on Aftershock. We'll probably have like Jellyhawk running float sometimes, so that'll be interesting to see. So,
like dancing on you. Like,
so whether he'll be able to match up in those high level games is the first time.
When I really think about it, the only good mid play team right now is probably Storm, and like maybe I was gonna say Moon Boys, but like I don't even think they play well. They just play 4-1. Like I don't even think anyone's like no one's that good at playing mid right now. There's no one that I can like look at and be like, this team is like gonna be like really this may suits them. Am I forgetting someone? You guys feel that, or is it just me?
I think it'll be very fun having CV be able to stretch his legs. I'm very excited for that. He'll get to go back to playing the game again.
We can just double log game.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I think we got lucky with this maze in the sense that it's a double low base maze where it's like 2 players just need to score a whole bunch of points. So I'm keen for it.
Yes. All right, boys. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. Hope everybody out there in the big wide world has enjoyed. Rampage will be up there. Thank you, Zyrex. I think that's something to mention before we go too, is that they've come so far in terms of their strategical understanding. Obviously, they were known for defending hard a few years back in Darwin, and they've like slowly learnt how to play aggressive at the right times, and now playing in essentially a home arena, everything that they learnt in Hobart, no doubt they're going to be right up there too. And what I saw of them, they played really well. They're not quite there yet, but they're so close.
If they can work out their attack, they'll be like in a really good spot. They just need to work out their attacks.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Zem and Spider, Spider playing that float, I think is like the most important position in the maze, and Spider's going to play it amazingly, which will enable his attackers to get a lot of value. So that they definitely have the potential to go far.
The only issue is Spider plays for pack, not to get the base. That's the only issue. So there's points where I feel like he needs to take that extra step forward to like help to be a 3-man attack and not a 2-man with someone just sniping.
Yeah, interesting.
In my opinion,
I saw a bit of that from him actually when I was reffing. Yeah, he was in defence and then he was pushing through and supporting the attack at certain times. So I think he's starting to do it a bit. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So Roper's asked us to say predictions for Prenats 3 stream. No doubt that will be coming up very shortly because I think Prenats 3 is only
very soon,
5 or 6 weeks away or something like that. Very soon.
Oh, actually, good.
Yeah.
It felt like ages away after pre-1.
Yeah.
Pre-2. It's pre-2 now.
Pre-3. What do you mean?
No, I call pre-2 pre-1 every single time. I don't know why.
Yeah,
like start of the year, pre-1 in my mind. Pre-3. One of the two. It's never pre-2 in January.
Yeah, you guys enjoy that tournament without me. I'm going to be very sad, but I'll be
It's
tuning in.
so, it looks so good.
Wait,
I'm so keen
So,
for
so
it.
you're not into either Pre-3 or Nats?
No,
Playing
Playing
Worlds
Worlds,
though.
Playing Worlds.
Well, yeah, maybe 50-50.
Uh,
We're gonna be able to come back to this discussion of like the meta of the maze and where everyone plays and how many people are moving with the maze map interactive. That's gonna be brilliant.
Oh yes, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, that was my commitment to the one up boys. Is that I'm 50-50 to go, but if I don't go, I can study maps for you and study the player tracking and see what I can help in that way. So yeah, can't wait to see what we can learn about the game and how quickly we can learn about other teams and stuff. But we should technically be able to from game to game literally learn how teams are playing. So yeah.
Sweaty nerds are gonna have fun with that.
Hell yeah. Alrighty, gents. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next podcast. Alrighty, ciao.
But, yeah.